Darlings, it's Mummy. It's Saturday and it is suffocating. It's already 90 degrees and it's just, once you're out in it, I guess you sort of get used to it. But boy, if you've come in from an air conditioned or out from an air conditioned home or restaurant, it's like a furnace. Anyway, I wanted to just show you my driveway garden, and I wanted to show you a couple of little things because I find it I find it so amusing. Each flower, each species has its own nuances, its own strengths and weaknesses, its own quirks and personality traits, and its needs and wants and demands and all of it. Irises, as you know, I have talked about. I inherited all these irises for the most part, all of these up here, and the ones around the corner, etc., over there. And the interesting thing is that I inherited those, but this is the quirky thing. Irises, two things. First of all, they're one of the shortest lived blossoms in the garden. So when you see an iris bloom and it's wonderful, it's pretty, and then about a day later, it's all wilty and crunched up and sad. And then there are more buds coming, but if you don't deadhead them, if you don't trim away the ones that have wilted immediately and carefully, with sterile scissors or whatever, the entire iris will then think it can go to seed, and it will start to just manufacture seeds, which is nature's way. So nature produces blossoms and pollen and pistils and all of that, all the complexity and all the varieties, to make babies for the next year. It's not interested whether or not you have a garden full of flowers that last. Its idea is to make flowers, attract bees, butterflies, and birds, pollinate their stamens or their pistils, get the seed production going, and then all other blossoms can sort of go by the wayside and die because the whole idea was to make seeds. All right, having said that, irises, again, are one of the shortest lived blossoms on the stalk in the garden. You want your irises to last, snip them off at the base and put them in water with that white stuff that they give at the florist shop, but only a pinch. You will have irises on and on and on. I'm looking at what I hope will be another 2 or 3 weeks of irises inside the house. Having said that, here are these purples. Okay, these purples are what the house came with. And irises do one other thing that is fascinating. They begin to how do I say this? In subsequent years, they will suddenly throw off a different color. And that is sort of them reverting to a grandparent or something. I have to look it up and be more thorough. But that's what's funny about them. They will suddenly have a stalk out of nowhere. Now, some of you will think, oh, well, seeds were dropped, like in a garden, you know. But no, it's that one of their parents or grandparents was yellow. So last year, I had one of these yellows in the middle of nowhere and in the middle of these purples. It was staggering. I had one of these bicolors in another stalk. Staggering. The yellows most especially. I mean, they don't even begin to look on this video the way they look right now in the garden. They are absolutely chrome yellow and trembling with color. Okay, that shaking is me, not the not the flowers. Anyway, to make a long story short, look, I have more yellows. I have more of the bicolors. All right, last year, and by the way, this is the killer. The smell of each of these irises is completely different, and they are astounding. It's very subtle, the smell of an iris. The purples have a very faint smell, but it's there. The yellows, a little bit stronger. The bicolors, this is the killer. Last year, I inherited from a neighbor named Mira, who lived around the corner. She saw what I was doing, and I had a blank space right here, and she gave me this bunch of pale yellows last year. And they blossomed not once, if you look at my Tour-ettes, but twice. So in the spring, they came up, even though they had just been dug up, planted, all of it, they came right up and were hardy, and I had blossoms everywhere, many more than this year, interestingly. Okay, this year, they came up, and look what they did. Whose grandpa is this? Whose grandmother is this? This bicolor copper iris came out of nowhere, and it is in its pale yellow bunch. Okay, so in this pale yellow stand, a grandparent suddenly came up. Now, originally, when the buds came up, I thought they were sick. I thought, uh-oh, this is something wrong, because they were dark and everything. And then they unfurled last night, and this is what came out. As if that isn't beautiful enough, as if that isn't shocking enough, the smell is astounding. It is like a spiced fruit smell. I'm not even sure what I can describe it as. It is a spiced fruit smell, and it is not subtle. It is not pale, like compared to the smells of these other. It is vibrant. It is as vibrant as that beard on that iris is. It is literally like smelling an orchid. It's very strange and very exotic. Again, a fruit with spice smell, hints of nutmeg or cinnamon or vanilla, or just exquisite. It makes me glad to be alive. I wish each of you could come here and see this stand of irises, how beautiful they are, and how how mischievous they are. There's no other word for it. They're like mischief. They're like cats. There's always mischief. They look like they're lying there calmly, and then suddenly they do this. I just can't begin to tell you. There's my stack of dead-headed irises that I'm sweeping up. So anyway, I wanted you to see that. I wanted you to enjoy. And I am certainly, with all of this beauty, I am remembering to be in the world and of the world, to be present, to be mindful, and to be so, so, so grateful. Look at the foliage. Even the spears of the leaves are like emeralds. They're beautiful. There's so much to see that is beautiful, beautiful. And to remember always that everything we see and smell and taste and touch and hear and hold in our hands and our hearts, all of this is borrowed. It is all gloriously, wonderfully borrowed.